Let's see, sing along. Let's go.
Exploring theology, doctrine, and all of the fascinating subjects in between, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, Dead Men Walking starts now.
Oh, I need my mug, you guys. Where's my... I don't know where it's at, you know? Well, hey, welcome back to another episode of Dead Men Walking Podcast, but this is special. You're going to hear a mashup live from Fight, Laugh, Feast in the Ark Encounter. Is that Williamsburg? Is that where we're at?
It is, but we're no longer from an undisclosed location.
I know, I
was going to try and keep it quiet because of that. But
So here's what happens. We announce an undisclosed location, and then I immediately tell everyone where I'm at. That's what we do on
from
Dead
an
Men
undisclosed location 454.
Yes, and that is the voice to my right, if you're watching. To your left, the voice of Jason Farley. How are you, Jason?
Doing great.
And sitting to his right, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Keith Foskey.
Keith Foskey. You know, I don't have enough of you in my... Say that again.
There's never enough of Keith Foskey.
There's never enough of me.
That's why he has to keep eating at McDonald's.
Do it again. Say it again. Say it again.
Testing one.
There we
I
are.
can hear myself.
That's how we do things unprofessionally here at Dead Men Walking. We don't have the right volume levels, and we just start the program. Cool. But so Keith's hanging out with me. He came down to Fight, Laugh, Feast. We have a booth here, and so you're just going to be like jumping in on some of these episodes, maybe do a few.
I'm going to be the Andy Richter to your Conan O'Brien. I'm going to be
he's doing
your sidekick.
Color commentary.
Oh, I like that. Which, you know, Andy Richter, full disclosure, he didn't say a lot, but when he did, it was good. It was funny. He just got in there, said his funny lines, and got out, got paid. That's the way to do it. And Jason, go ahead.
We're getting paid?
I'm getting paid. I was just fixing to say.
In sparkling water. Yes,
right.
I have a sparkling water for each of you afterwards. But, of course, Jason, associated with lore.tv, give me the official title that you hold there again.
I am the Chief Content Officer. So
wow.
I find the movies and television shows that we put on the platform.
Yeah. So we talked with you and Marcus, it was a couple years ago now. It was in South Dakota, I think, the last time you were on. We had a fun time. You kind of explained to everyone what it is you guys are doing. We've got some new listeners since then, so maybe in a nutshell, just tell everyone what it is lore.tv does again.
Yeah, so we're a new funding and streaming platform. So we're trying to solve the problem that makes Christian movies suck so bad.
Yeah.
Right. By connecting the creators directly with an audience through our website so that the audience can decide what movies they want to see made, what movies and TV shows that they want to see made. And so we put up movies and TV shows and let the audience vote and with their
loot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is an interesting concept. So, I paid Netflix or whoever pays whatever astronomical amount they're up to now, $17 a month or something if you want to share passwords. I think that's what it is. You know, funny thing is that's how they sold their platform 8 years ago. Is, hey, you can get share it as much as you want, right? But everything comes to an end when you need to see increased profits. So I send them that money. I don't get to have a say in what I want to see, and most of it's garbage, dude. They're all about quantity now. Netflix used to be about quality. Now they're just, let's put as much stuff up there, put a fancy little, poster, a digital poster, so you click on it, and it's not that great of content to where you guys go, hey, pay us a couple bucks each month. We'll convert that into kind of like a digital loot or shareable loot.
Yeah, digital currency.
And then throw it at what you want to see. So when something has enough loot or is fully funded, then you get to see it. So it's this kind of cool thing where as a subscriber, you get to choose what content you see.
Yeah, what content goes onto the platform, right? So that way you're building out a platform that other people will want to see too.
Yeah.
And that other people will come and see. So it's basically you get to be kind of super fan of particular projects and help bring those projects into the world. And then they exist in the world and everybody on the platform can watch them whether they funded it or not. But it is a way of, sort of paying it forward. I'm helping this get made, helping this come out, and that way the rest of the world can come watch it too.
Yeah. And one of the things you guys had too, which drew me in, was your tagline from years ago. And I went, oh, I'm going to like these guys. Their tagline's Christian movies shouldn't suck. Yeah. It's close to that. Nice. There's a couple taglines.
Yeah.
And I resonated with that.
That's been one of our more popular taglines, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have Alex Kendrick films on? That's hurtful.
Forgive me, Lord. That's
the Kendrick brothers make really long sermon illustrations.
Yeah.
Right. And they know that's what they're doing. Yeah. That's what they make. Is they're not really trying to make movies per se, as in the sense that it's the art of a movie. They're making sermon illustrations because they're pastors, and that's what they do.
Right. Yeah. So what are you guys geared towards? I mean, you have a wide range of content,
Yeah.
but what are you looking for when you're because you're the content guy?
Right.
What are you looking
Yeah.
for when you're looking for
I mean,
content?
what I'm looking for is the storytellers that are looking to serve an audience, right? So rather than looking to, right now you go out and whether it's Netflix or Disney, everywhere you go, they're really making propaganda for an ideology most of the time. You get something good here and there, but most of it's just propaganda. And the art of just making a movie that serves an audience, making a TV show that's just a good story that's serving an audience, that's what we're looking for. So we've got some really great content like Barely Biblical, which is animated stuffed teddy bears acting out the most violent Old Testament Bible stories. It's just wonderful.
And
Right?
I think the tagline on that was "in their bears," so it's okay. It's like they're animated bears, so we can do it. Chopping their heads off and running swords through their guts.
Right.
Here's your 200 foreskins, my lord.
No, seriously.
That's one of the jokes in the pilot. Yeah, they look at Michael, and one of the brothers said, "She's worth at least 100 foreskins."
Yeah. I'm
The
glad.
greatest pickup line in history. You, my dear.
I'm glad Keith and Jason are talking because these guys are going to be friends because you guys both have that weird sense of humor that's just awesome.
Right.
It's like where'd that come from? But so stuff like that. So animated. Are you guys?
We've got animated. We've got some adult animation that's about to be announced. We've got stand-up comedy. We've got kind of conservative underground patriotic stand-up comedy that's going on right now.
Yeah.
And we've got and then we've got a Western and we've got some documentaries and we've got a great reality show called Breaking Laws with comedian Joseph Granda, and he's traveling the country breaking the most ridiculous laws he can find, and
Absolutely.
then he turns himself into the cops and sees what they do.
You know what's funny about?
And then he finds a pastor in town and asks if he broke Romans 13.
Yeah.
So it's just such a funny show.
He messaged me probably about a year and a half ago, and he goes, "Hey, would you be on? Would you be a guest on this new podcast I'm doing where I'm researching like crazy laws that you can break?" I go, "Sure, yeah." Then I didn't hear back from him for like 6 months, and then I messaged him, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm working with Lord TV." We turned that. I said, "Okay, that's fine." But I'm glad you guys hooked up because that was a great premise.
Yeah,
great idea.
premise.
And it's cool to see you guys kind of have that wide foundation of different stuff. Sometimes when streaming platforms first start, they really focus on just one thing. It's all docs. Right. It's all animation. Yeah. It's like you guys are and like you said, it's subscriber funded. So if they want to kind of, you put something out there and people respond to it, look, we're making it.
Right, and that's exactly it. So we've got an upcoming one. This is an example of a satirical rom-com called The Lesbian and the Lumberjack, about a woman who thinks she's a lesbian, but it turns out she's just never met a real man, right?
Oh my God.
And it's the sort of thing where you think, I think there's an audience for it,
yeah.
but it's not going to get made on speculation in Hollywood anywhere.
Right.
But if we can take it to the audience and say, isn't this a movie you'd like to see? And they say yes, then it's we've already got the Christmas Village in Central Oregon reserved and to film it in and everything.
You have to get Kevin Sorbo to play the lumberjack. I hear he's looking for work.
He works a lot.
I'm just kidding.
So he's actually a really good actor. There's just not always great options out there, but that dude acts in a ton of stuff.
Well, he acts in
looking for work.
He is, yeah.
He acts in a ton of stuff, but also with his beliefs and what he's outspoken about, it's a death sentence in Hollywood to say the things that he says.
Sure.
I mean, there's 3 or 4 guys to where even like, I'm a big comedy fan. Even the guys around in the late 80s, early 90s, Dennis Miller started even just going conservative, not Christian,
right? Just
conservative. And he goes, it was like a choice. I go, I'm not going to have work anymore. And just by being conservative. So that's another thing too, where you see these guys that lean a certain way or have a certain agenda that's not Hollywood's agenda. Dean Cain's another example.
Yeah.
He pretty much got exiled as soon as he stands up for, pro-life and stuff like that.
I'm one of those weird people that think Dean Cain is a great Superman.
I thought he was the best too.
He was
He was really
Superman.
good. What was the show? Lois and Clark, right?
Lois and Clark.
Yeah.
I love that show.
That was because I grew up with Christopher Reeves. He was the next one.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've been a Superman fan. I've comic book collection. That's sort of my thing.
You're right. We are going to get along.
I told you. So
I have a a file at my comic book shop around the corner from my house where they just set aside the ones they know I'm going to buy. So I just go in once a month, and they're like, "Hey, Jason, here's your Hellboy, and here's your it's all my favorite comics."
We should do a DC Marvel debate.
Yeah,
Is greater.
Well,
So-
I'm as long as I can argue for Dark Horse, then we're good.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So wait a minute. As a non-comic dude, what is Dark Horse? I do know DC and Marvel, so I'm not that dumb. But like, I don't.
Dark Horse is a smaller comic book publishing company that does more experimental stuff.
They
Okay.
did Hellboy, right?
They did Hellboy,
Hellboy,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you're one of those hipster comic guys. Like,
You can tell I'm.
I'm just saying, it's like, well,
you can
no,
tell
it's
I'm hipster
not
because
mainstream
of
comic.
because of how thin I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wear skinny jeans, but it's because I have no other choice.
Yeah. When you're our size, all jeans are skinny jeans.
I hear you guys. No, that's good. But yeah, comics I never really got into. I was a big Trekkie growing up.
Okay.
But never into. Probably because I grew up fundamentalist too. It was kind of like, hey, drums are bad, comics are bad, everything's Satan.
But atheistic space travel's good.
Yes, yeah. Which, looking back on that, you go, if you go back and watch like TNG, even like the Next Generation was kind of my generation in the '80s.
That's the one I watched too.
Yeah, lots of progressive agenda stuff going on there, like so hardcore, like more than anything that was going on in pop culture. You're like, oh, they really snuck it in there. So I was allowed to watch that for some reason,
Yeah.
But
The progressive movement's always coming from space. You got to be careful.
you gotta watch it. Yeah, they come
Watch
from
out for
space.
lesbian aliens. That's his next show.
That's his next show.
The lesbian and
lesbian
the
aliens
alien.
and the lumberjacks who love them.
Did we just create a new comic together?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Earth Girls were easy, but not anymore. That's
No.
the
we
musical.
can't define what Earth Girls are.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't even know what a woman is down there. Let's go.
It's the sequel.
Yeah. I interviewed the guy who wrote, he was on Jimmy Kimmel, Amish Vampires from Space.
Ooh.
Have you ever heard that book?
No, but that sounds incredible.
Got really Jimmy Kimmel picked it up and was talking about it and like put his sales through the roof. But he's a believer. He's a Reformed believer, and it's
Dude, I got a 12-hour car ride home.
you got to get the audio
Amish
book. Dude.
Vampires from Space.
I can't believe I've never heard of it. That's like right
it's
up
this
my
weird
alley.
thing too, to where it's like it uses a lot of the principles of the Amish and conservatism, and they're fighting this thing in space. You think it wouldn't go together. I got about halfway through before I talked about it. I was like, this is actually not bad. It's a bestseller, but yeah, any of that science fiction stuff I get a little interested in, But so anyway, back to lore, or we can just talk about anything. But I'm really excited about lore too, because like I said, Jeez, we got someone in the background yelling. I was kind of, there when you guys were when even Marcus and you guys, because you came on really early too, just tossing the idea around to now seeing it a lot more places in just a few short years.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand how hard it is to do a startup, how to get funding. So if anyone's listening right now too, who would they contact or go to if they want to, you guys are still taking investors or no?
Yep. Yeah, we're still taking investors. So we've got the tech built, and it's launched and it's running, and we've got all of our numbers and customer acquisition costs, and so we're out still looking for some investment. Although mostly we're just looking for subscribers.
Yeah.
But we're at basically closing out our SAFE round on the investment side.
Okay.
Now that we're launched, and before we, we're not going to go public or anything. We're just trying to find some investors.
So if they want more information, just go to lore.tv. Check it out.
There's actually a
subscribe.
spot where if you're interested in investing, that we've still got the tab up there because
Right.
that's what we spent the last couple of years doing is finding investment to run a beta, and then finding investment to turn that beta into reality and get it launched. And so that tab is still there. It won't be there for very much longer because
right. I imagine though, if someone walked up to you 6 months from now and said, "Hey, I want to invest $5 million," and
it would depend on the terms, but yeah,
right.
Yeah.
If the terms are right, you wouldn't
the terms were
turn
right,
it
we
down,
wouldn't
right?
turn it down. Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
So if you have $5 million and no terms,
no terms. Yeah, exactly. I just want to give this to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when
The guy's just like, "Hey, I heard you on Dead Men. Here's $5 million.
Here's
I just want the lesbian and lumberjacks in space." Is that what it was?
Is that
it was an Amish lesbian.
Oh, an Amish lesbian.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, when you're a customer, we know the value of the tech we built, and we know the value of the customer's acquisition cost, and so
right.
So that's what I mean by depending on the term. It's like we've built a money printing machine basically, and so we don't want to sell it off too much.
That's funny. Oh man! All right, cool. Anything else going on, man? We're at the conference. This is going to be clips, you guys, from Fight Laugh Feast in at the Ark I almost said the Ark Museum, Ark Encounter. So you're going to have all these different guests. We're going to mash them up for you. Probably come out in a few episodes. But Jason, you're the first.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to see you again, man.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
I know we kind of pass each other. We only really see each other at these conferences because I think you guys are you still out in Arizona or no? Where are you at?
I'm in Spokane, Washington.
Man.
Yeah,
jeez.
Moved up from the Bay Area.
Yeah, it's gorgeous out there though, right?
Oh, it's amazing.
I've never been out there,
Yeah,
but
it is gorgeous. The
Northwest.
Come out here and people are like, "Yeah, we're going over to the mountains." I'm like, "What mountains?" Because I live in the Rocky Mountains. Those are real mountains. Those are men,
right.
You're
like, this is what the psalmist said about foothills, dude.
Right, yeah.
This isn't the mountains. This is It's funny because on the way down here, John, who came down here with me, sitting right behind Keith there, he said, "We're going to see some mountains." I said, "I think they're foothills."
Yeah.
Because I mean, the mountains are mountains.
I'm from Florida. So it's all mountains.
You're like, it's all mountains.
Yeah.
I'm used to swamps and valleys.
I remember the first time I was coming, as a kid, I was coming up and I saw the mountain rise up out, like because you're driving, it starts to rise up.
Yeah.
And I had this sort of Godzilla moment. Like, is this real?
Yeah.
What is that? That's a mountain. Yeah.
I hope somebody's got a giant mech somewhere.
All right, cool, man. We'll shut it down, guys. Thanks for stopping by, though. And we'll be here. You guys will be hearing from me, and then also Keith's gonna, like I said, gonna jump in on some too. Just because we like Keith. He's a good dude. We like hanging out, and he's fun, and he's smart and intelligent and handsome. And you got to pay me later. Yeah, $50.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, you were paying him. This is great. This is what I'm talking about. Terms, like the terms are shifting before my eyes.
Greg is the reason
I'm a politician.
I have friends. That's what it is.
Right.
He builds me up.
All right, guys, go check it out, lore.tv. Super cool, fun way to fund stuff and see what you want to see on there. And it's stuff that doesn't suck. It's not the run-of-the-mill Christian stuff. It's going to be in your face. It's funny, just kind of like how we're talking here, and you go, what? That's a Christian podcast? You can say the L word? Yes, we can talk about those things. We can animate those things. We can, well, not the X. I'm digging a hole here. You understand what I'm saying. Yes. We can talk about these themes that are sharp objects.
Yeah, now I'm concerned what the L word is if we're animating
For
it.
all your animated lesbian needs.
Okay. We're done. Bye. We're out.
Never mind.
We're recording everywhere, dude. It's already started.
Yeah. What was this?
You didn't know it.
Have you ever seen Office Space?
Yep. Oh, yeah. That's a classic.
Said, what would you do if you had $1 million? I'll tell you what I'd do.
Nothing.
You just asked me what I'd do.
I'd do nothing. Pretty good at it, man.
You ain't got $1 million to do nothing. My cousin don't do nothing.
Yeah.
He's broke, don't do crap.
Yeah, he's broke, don't do crap. Yeah. That was a sleeper movie. That did not do well at the box office. And then just anyone who has ever worked corporate or office understands that movie.
I worked for America Online and AT&T.
Me too.
AT&T in the center. Yeah.
Oh,
on my drive here, it was a 12-hour drive.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, I listen to podcasts or I listen to a sermon. Very spiritual people. What I did.
They just listen to the same Vody Bauckham sermon on repeat so they can memorize it.
I want to be able to preach like Vody. No, what I did was I listened to movies that I know so well that I don't have to look at the screen.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the 4 movies that I listened to on the way here were Smoking the Bandit because I was driving.
Yeah.
And I wanted that.
You wanted your truck to fly.
I
right?
love Smoking the Bandit. You have no idea how
You are driving the right truck down to this conference for that.
I love it.
I was behind you last night with those dualies, and we got glass packs on it. You're just swerving all. I'm like, dude, he's running from the law right now. What is going on?
The movie Vacation. I did all driving movies, by the way. All right, so it was Vacation and Tommy Boy.
Oh, Tommy Boy's
Tommy
great.
Boy, that's if you don't think about it,
Roads.
that's a road trip movie.
Yeah. Oh, no, it totally is.
Yeah. I don't remember what the other one was.
No, wait a minute. Tommy Boy is the one with the brakes and everything, and then Black Sheep is the political one, right?
Yes, Black Sheep is the political one.
Yeah, because one of my favorite scenes in Black Sheep is when, I don't know if you've seen it, but when he's delivering when he's out, because I knock doors as a elected official and stuff, and he's got every vote counts, and he's at the top of the hill, and then he just falls down a hill for 8 minutes, Little root. He's hanging onto the root and falls again. And he has the best line. He just gets up and he goes, "What in the heck was that all about?" That was, you know what I mean? Like, I've had those times while door knocking, sweating. I trip in some guy's ditch. I'm just like, Lord, what is going on? But, Tommy Boy's good too, though. It's funny because I just had we were really big in hospitality at our church. So, I mean, we've got a young church. We've got about 650, 700 people. Probably half of them are under the age of 30. Big families. We're really big in, making sure we're multiplying and, taking dominion and all that.
Mandate.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, but because of that, I get invited to a lot of dinners, probably once a week. And most of these guys are in their, who do we have over there? Someone
I just
looking.
saw a dude with the coolest hair. You, my friend, have awesome hair. He's not even looking at me.
Well,
that's right. That is sweet.
I'm going to make this story short.
Flow at the conference, right?
Essentially what I'm saying is I noticed I'm the old man now because of my movie references when I go to dinner with these early 20-somethings. I'm like, like in Dumb and Dumber and Tommy Boy. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
I get the same thing musically being a mid-2000s emo and pop punk kid at heart.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that Taking Back Sunday album. And they're
like,
their eyes glaze. Who's that?
Yeah, they're like, we listen to...
That's not Post Malone.
And we listen to Little Muzzy or I don't know, whoever that is. I'm making up rappers.
I've never listened to music in my life.
You're a good Baptist, that?
No, it's not that. I literally, when I was a kid, I would take movies, and like I said, on my car trip, I would take movies, and I had a VHS player and an audio recorder, and I would record the movies on audio. My first time I walked out.
Oh, so you're pirating copyrighted music and audio
Someone
and video?
send this to the FBI.
My wife got in my car the first time. She opened up my tape case, and she's like, "Why does this say a Goofy movie?" But it wasn't the soundtrack from a Goofy. It was literally a Goofy movie. It was the movie I had filmed or video, because I'm just that guy. I love movies.
Wait, isn't there a cartoon movie called A Goofy Movie, though?
That's the movie. That's the one I'm talking about.
Oh, you had actually taped it on.
I had taken the VHS tape, recorded it onto a audio tape, and listened to it while I drove. And let me tell you something. Powerline, one of the greatest artists ever.
Wait, so I was so confused then. So you're listening to video. You're listening to a movie.
I'm listening to this.
But you're not watching it.
No, I can watch it right here. I've got it all up here, baby. I know this movie. I don't know why. I have this stupid photographic memory. I remember everything I see.
Wow.
So in fact, my brother, I'm going to tell you a story about my brother.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I mean, this is crazy.
We will allow it.
My brother.
Welcome to Keith's show, everyone, where he tells all the stories, says all the things, and no one else gets to talk. Go ahead, Keith. Talk about your brother. That's Keith Foskey, by the way, and Cody Fields from Westminster Effects. And we know Keith. He's been on the podcast. They both have, and we're just chopping it up here at Fight Laugh Feast a little bit.
Everyone knows Keith. Like 4 people know who I am.
Yeah, 1 person knows who I am. 4 people knows who Cody is.
Yep.
And Keith is getting selfie requests every 15 minutes.
It's more often than that.
Let's be honest. Now he's starting to charge, and we're not allowed to look him directly in the eyes. That is one of his rules. We did bring him all the green M&Ms that was on his rider.
We can only speak to him if he
speaks to us first. Yep.
And
yep.
if he walks into the room, we have to stand up.
That's true. Yeah.
He said I'm starting to charge.
He's
thinking like a bull.
He has been real. He told me personally he's thinking about a light bow. He would like a light bow now too when we
can
stand
make that
up.
work.
Kind of a Asian Japanese kind of.
Just a quick one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do have a black belt.
That's true. He's a 4th degree, or it's a 4th degree black belt. Fifth degree black belt.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to steal a degree from you there, buddy.
Off of his degree.
He looked at me when I said 4th degree. He's like, "You son of a! It's 5. It's 5th degree." All right, go ahead. Your brother, anyway.
No, my brother. He calls me one day and he goes, "Hey, man, I was having a rough night the other night. He was all by himself. He was going through some stuff, and he goes, but I want to know if this ever happens to you." He said, "Do you ever just lay at night and watch a movie in your head?"
And you're like,
I said,
"We are related."
Absolutely. I could start right now. And One Crazy Summer is my favorite movie of all time. John Cusack, Demi Moore, in the beautiful days when Bobcat Goldthwait was an actual cultural phenomenon. And I can watch that movie beginning to end in my head.
No way.
I can just start right now. The very first thing is the cute and fuzzy bunnies. He's drawing the cartoons. It's awesome.
Can I tell you something? Is it the right word? Juxtaposition that? Juxtapose that? I was watching Mission Impossible 4 or 3, whatever the last one was, on Prime.
We lost count.
And I got it's whatever the last one was. I got halfway through it. I'm halfway through it, and I'm like, oh, I bet you I know what he's going to do. That guy's probably the bad guy, right? And I'm so proud of myself. To my wife, I said, I figured this out. She goes, you watched that last month. I watched it 30 days prior, and I didn't even know it. I was halfway through it, and I thought I was figuring out the plot.
I figured it out.
It was like a remnant of a memory, and I was like, oh, I bet you that guy. She's like, you just watched this a month ago. So that's how I remember movies. That's not great. At all.
I'll cop to being not a huge movie guy, but the two movies that I can quote pretty much front to back are Monty Python and the Holy Grail and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Now that's a good movie.
Yeah, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou has some family significance to me. So my entire extended family, my parents, etc., are all from Northeast Mississippi, from Corinth and Alcorn County.
Okay,
but not too Corinth.
Not
too
Corinth. We just joked.
Yeah. They don't know what we're talking about. It's a Trump joke from 2 Corinthians. Yeah. Okay.
But Oh Brother, Where Art Thou was filmed and set in Tishomingo County, right next to where my parents grew up.
Nice.
And I tell you, not much has changed from the 1930s in Tishomingo County. There's still nothing there.
What is it? Wait, Tishomingo?
Tishomingo.
Is that Native American?
I assume so. It
means one Texaco.
Hey, where's my? I need my. Oh, I just erased all my drops. So there we go. Get a laugh track for him.
There we go.
The only drop I have left on here is my favorite when Joel Osteen's talking.
Go ahead and hit that one.
When he's talking to who is
Larry
it?
King.
I almost said Larry David. Good Lord, Larry King.
No, not.
He's like
not great value, John Piper.
It was awesome because you know how great value, John Piper. You know how Larry King was. He was like, so, Joel, I'm a Jew. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in Jesus. Am I going to hell? Go. And his was his answer.
I'm very careful about saying who would and wouldn't go to heaven. I just think that only God can judge a person's heart.
And then 2 weeks later, he had Bono on. And he asked him the exact same question. And Bono just lays out the gospel for him.
Bono.
And goes, look, there's only one way to the Father. It's through Christ. He changed my life. And you're like, so the rock star is preaching the gospel to Larry King, but the mega pastor, I can't judge. I don't know who goes to heaven and who doesn't. And I mashed those 2 videos up before, and I always post it about once a year just to remind people, you can't really,
that Bono is a better Christian than Joel Osteen.
Or just at least
I think we already
professing
knew that,
the gospel.
Yeah. For your listeners who aren't familiar with me, I have a pedal called the Osteen Distortion.
It's awesome.
That Joel Osteen knows about.
Yeah, we'll put it up if you're watching this too. I'll edit it in.
His music minister, one of them at least, confronted me about it at a trade show several years ago, and he was adamant that Joel Osteen was not a health and wealth preacher.
He's like, no.
And
really?
I got home from that trade show, and this guy is playing guitar, and Joel Osteen lays out the most health and wealth bullcrap I've ever heard in my life, and I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah. So he was trying to tell, because you said he worked for Joel Osteen or worked with him, right?
Yeah, and he worked. He found your pedal for Worship Musician Magazine, which is
because what's on the Joel Osteen effects pedal for guitar. That's what we're talking about here. Westminster Effects. He does effects pedals. Yep. What's the settings? Tell us really quick, because I like that.
The EQ section. So your bass metal and treble is labeled health. The gain, the amount of distortion is wealth.
Yeah.
And then the volume knob is labeled listen, friend.
Listen, friend. Yeah.
So
that's good.
His music director was not happy with me. But then the next year, he was kind of walking down the row at this same trade show and realizes that I was the next booth too late. Total deer in the headlights. So, of course, he had to try the pedal.
Right.
And then he liked it.
Like, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
You will like that Osteen Distortion.
So what else we got going on today? Obviously, guys, if you're listening to this is a mashup from Fight, Laugh, Feast. We're podcasting here until Saturday evening. I've been here since Wednesday, so we got a few days here, and we're on a break. We've got who do we got coming up next? I think it's who is session
Ben Merkel?
3. Oh, it's Ben Merkel.
I think it's Ben Merkel.
Who we talked to
and
last night,
then-
and he's going to swing by. So hopefully we hear from him, get an update on New St. Andrews College out there. You
I think
guys
we
got anything
Joe
else?
Rigney later.
Joe
and then
Rigney.
I think Wilson.
We
is
got
tonight.
Doug Wilson,
Yeah.
Michael Foster tomorrow.
Yep.
And I just got a text from Michael. He's going to try to swing by and jump on, and we're going to talk about maybe his book and all the controversy he caused by just talking about biblical manhood.
Oh, very good.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
You say it's good to be a man and it's good to be masculine. It's good to work and provide for your family, and you write a book about it, and people go, you can't say those things.
Is the counsel for biblical manhood and womanhood not good enough for you?
Right. Well, most of those people that are saying that, though, they have a real they-them vibe, if you know what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So,
I understand what you are saying.
oh, man. All right, cool. We got anything else before we head out? I know you got to go somewhere.
I
You got to go
do the thing.
But, guys, if you're listening, make sure you check out Keith, Your Calvinist, on Twitter, and then make sure I say the podcast name.
CalvinistPodcast.com is the easiest way to find it.
CalvinistPodcast.com, and then check out Westminster Effects,
Yep.
Cody Fields. He makes great guitar effects. Guys, we'll be back with more guests in just a minute. Thanks. But, yeah, we're at Fight, Laugh, Feast, guys. Welcome back with the guys from Stand With Warriors, a phenomenal organization. I'm not going to talk too much about it because these are the subject experts. Why don't you guys introduce yourself? I know probably our listeners know Davis here. He's been on a few times, and he's back. But how about these two brothers in the Lord?
I'm Danny O'Neill.
Get right up on that mic, dude. Eat it. Go ahead. I sprayed it. It's COVID free. You can pull it right up to pull it right up to the mouth and talk into it.
I am Danny O'Neill, part of the Stand With Warriors organization that we're repurposing for.
Nice.
And I'll head the discipleship and evangelism arm of SEAL teams and special forces eventually.
Okay. And who do we have over here?
So my name is Caleb Byrd. I'm a former Army JAG.
Oh, hold on. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take you off mute. This is the professional show I got going on here, guys. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah,
about
I'll watch what I say. I know you got the power over there.
that. Right? Just mute. Yeah.
So my name is Caleb Byrd. I'm a former Army JAG officer.
Yeah.
Spent 7 years in the U.S. Army in the reserve and the active duty side, and so I've come back over to join Davis, the law firm.
Yeah.
And also supporting Stand With Warriors on the training and advocacy side.
Yeah. And Davis, go ahead. Give us your intro, too, for new listeners.
Sure. So I'm Davis Younts. I spent 20 years in the Air Force, 11 years on active duty as a JAG, and then I just retired in December of 2022. So I was in the room with guys like Danny that were Navy SEALs not knowing what to do. These were the guys that were threatened to be court-martialed if they didn't take the vaccine.
Wow.
Danny was one of them. Danny will be a little bit shy about it, but he was a Navy SEAL who was kicked out. He was kicked out of the military over refusing the vaccine for religious reasons.
After all that training and all the obstacles you go through and the high level of achievement, and that's how they let you go. That's insanity.
That's absolutely right. So like these guys said, we are Jeff Durbin, the guys from Apologia Church, helped us start Stand With Warriors when we needed it, and now we're ready to go on the offense.
Okay.
So we're not going to sit back. We're not going to get caught flat-footed like we did over COVID. These guys, Danny and some other Navy SEALs, are going to head up the evangelism and discipleship piece. We're going to bring the gospel to the tip of the spear in the military. Then we're going to go beyond that. We're going to go federal law enforcement. We're going to push through this because we want to be a rallying point for that.
Yeah.
And we're not going to stop with the evangelism and discipleship piece. We want to do leadership training for Christian leaders in the military. We want to do a membership-based legal advocacy. So we want, just like other organizations that are out there, if you're in the military, you get into one of these positions, we want to have a membership base of people that have the training to do it right. So that we have a rallying point, and then guys like Caleb and I are on the phone 24 hours a day. You call us. Do I sign this abortion, travel fee, payment for my people? Do I sign off on this transgender surgery? We're here at this conference today. Yesterday, we found out the Department of Health and Human Services, the uniform military health service. People don't even understand what the uniform public health service is, but it's a part of the military. It's also part of Health and Human Services. It's kind of like the Coast Guard for medical. And they just issued a policy yesterday mandating pronoun usage. And mandating.
Not voluntary.
Mandating. So now if you are in that system. You wear a uniform, you have a military rank, you will be disciplined. You will be you'll lose your career if you refuse to use pronouns. So this is Admiral Dick Levine, right? Goes by Rachel now. This is Admiral Levine's organization. So that's who's doing this. So, our fear, we're already bringing clients in now. I mean, this is like our first conference with the new Stand With Warriors. We've already talked to somebody here. We're going to be bringing clients in and fighting back. This is a test run.
Yeah.
We think this is a test run for the rest of the military. So depending on how this policy goes, we will see something very, very similar because they've been work grouping it come across the rest of the military. So these are the things that we're talking about on the legal advocacy side. And then, the evangelism piece is going to be a big part of that.
Wow, it's so needed because I almost just asked, okay, so what did you say to people who go, yeah, we had the pandemic, that might not happen again. Why are you organizing? But this is multiple fronts. This isn't just maybe vaccine or pandemic stuff. Like you just said, this is that just came out yesterday, right?
That came out yesterday.
So we're 24 hours, old of, you have to mandate. And then I think you were showing me a little clip or a little part of the text too that was talking about uniforms, what type of uniform they can switch from day to day, the logistics of that. So now anyone who misgenders or mispronouns someone, you're looking at legal action, and that you guys are there for that side of it as well too, right?
Right. That's absolutely what we want to be there for.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this came about from pandemic, right?
That's right.
And we've talked about that when you've been on the show in the past. How did you guys get? I know he said a little bit how you got involved. So how did you guys get involved, and what's the value you see in Stand With Warriors?
So as far as the evangelism and discipleship piece, it's going to be creating infrastructure from within. So when it first came down 2 years ago, we were calling our heels, didn't really know how to articulate it, how to defend it legally, like biblically, from a biblical worldview and whatnot.
Okay.
Like we knew, but we didn't really know how to prove it because we had to write letters for exemptions and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the piece in this, and creating and deriving everything from an ethical standard and teaching that and guiding guys in that. So that's the discipleship piece.
What does that look like practically? When you're saying discipling and evangelizing, what does that look like? What is your organization doing when you're talking about that?
So hopefully frequent trips to certain locations where there's a population of guys that I can talk to. So So go to Virginia Beach. That's where all my buddies are, and we'll start there and just go down, sit down, Bible study, hang out for the weekend or something, and then hopefully branch out to the West Coast and other locations across the U.S. and start creating little pockets of solid Christians who have a community to go to and
that are in the military or former. Is it just active military? Is that what kind of you guys are looking for?
Yeah,
right.
Active, and then we'll have a network of veterans as well to help. But right now, it's creating infrastructure from active.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So Davis and I, the way I got involved, Davis and I got to know each other while I was still at Trial Defense Services, Fort Bragg.
Okay.
During the pandemic, we had a massive criminal case together. We got a great victory on it. We worked together well. And so I was coming up on that point of my career where you've either got to commit to go for 20 or you got to get out, right?
Yeah.
And so I called Davis. We had a great conversation. And then about 2 weeks later, Davis texted me. He's like, hey, what do you think about coming over and working for me? And so that's how I got involved, coming on with Stand With Warriors. But one of the real important things that I saw in the military was you had a lot of people who did not want to take the vaccine.
Yeah.
Did not know how to go about it, and didn't know how to do it the right way. So let me give you an example. I saw more than one occasion where someone had the right mentality. They didn't want to take the vaccine, but instead of being open and honest about it, they were turning over fake vaccine cards. Well,
right.
Now it's really easy for the Army to separate you. Now you're a liar. I can just get rid of you. It doesn't even have to be about the vaccine. And so where this training and advocacy piece really comes in is we know that we were all caught flat-footed during COVID.
Yeah.
So how do we get in front of that? How do we go on the offensive? How do we get in front of those Christian leaders in the military who we help them decide beforehand, you know what, if a soldier comes in my office and asks for leave to go have an abortion, I'm going to deny it, and we'll help you on how to do that, what that looks like.
Yeah.
Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to see Christians in a situation, again, where they don't know how to act. They don't know how to respond.
Right.
And then they're just shooting from the hip. So our hope is that we can get in front of it, where now there's a plan in place for, hey, I have a transgender soldier who wants to move into the girls' bathrooms, who wants to move into the girls' dorms, who wants to move into the girls' living spaces, right?
Yeah.
Here's how we're going to attack that. Here's how we're going to do it open, honest, from a Christian worldview, and we're going to keep the fight on this front.
Yeah, and have the legal know-how
That's exactly
if
right.
needed, because we were talking, earlier today. It just seems like an unreal attack, especially within the military, of just chaos and disarray, and with all this kind of gender stuff coming down the pike. You're going to have servicemen and women that are going to have to make worldview choices
That's right.
that will most likely have legal repercussions for them very soon. And I don't know of a lot of people doing what you guys are doing and specializing in. It seems like you're kind of at the forefront of this. So anyone who's actively in the military, if you're listening to this, where can they go to find out about it first? And like, how do they join? Is it an annual membership? Like, talk about that a little bit, because I think what you're doing is phenomenal.
Yeah, so we are, it's standwithwarriors.org.
Okay.
Standwithwarriors.org is
I'll
the
make sure we
website.
link it up too.
Yeah, yes. We'll start there. That's really just a landing page right now because we're redoing it. It was very vaccine focused, and we're bringing that back around. So this is a grassroots organization. So a couple of things as far as how to engage in it. We all know, because we served, how difficult it can be for military members to get plugged into a good local church.
Yeah.
And local churches often don't know how to minister to military members because you're only there 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So what we want to be able to do is, starting with Navy SEALs, my brother's a fighter pilots, special operations guys, bring guys in that community that are active or that got out like Danny, and bring them in so that you have SEALs evangelizing SEALs and growing it from there. And then just, it's Operation 11 is what we're calling that piece. So it grows out of it. And then we're hoping to get local churches partnering with us, and so then they can say, okay, this is the group of people we need to get plugged in with on that military installation, and we can grow our ministry as well. Well, so that's that piece. That's what that looks like.
Okay.
On the active duty side, what we're going to be doing, we will be rolling out in a few months a membership portal for people who can join. So it's a lot like maybe if you were a homeschool family, an organization like Heritage Defense.
Sure.
So we will have a small monthly fee. For the year, it's going to cost you less than an hour of an attorney's time. But if you're a member, our expectation will be you sign a statement of faith, so we know you're like-minded, that you're with us, and then we will have a monthly training seminar. So we'll go through books. We'll talk about how do we build worldview, how do we prepare for these things that are coming, what are you guys seeing? So we'll bring people together monthly, and then what will happen is 24 hours a day, if you have an issue coming, you call us, and we will be there for these administrative decisions, and we will represent you, and it'll be Caleb, myself, we'll have a network of attorneys, because the beautiful thing about the military is Caleb's office is in Huntsville, Alabama. I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We work in the same law firm because we serve people worldwide. I represent military members. Caleb will represent military members all over the world, because you just have to be licensed in a state to practice federal law. So the beauty is the infrastructure can be built very, very quickly.
Wow.
To leverage that to help these military members, and we can create that network. So that's what it's going to look like. And then, the goal, the vision, the hope is we're going to expand. It's not just going to be military, because during COVID, I represented ATF agents, DEA agents, Border Patrol agents, FBI agents, federal marshals. Same thing. These federal administrative law issues that we're going to be able to help them with, it can all be done from anywhere in the country. And then we can bring that network of attorneys together.
I was just going to say that's so interesting. So you do want to expand and go, because the federal government is so big anyway, it has so many employees, that you want to expand into those other federal spaces that have federal employees, right?
Absolutely.
Just like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to bring the gospel to the deep state.
That's right.
Yeah.
We want to have Christians.
I love it.
We
Oh,
want to have Christians.
dude, that's your
in the deep
T-shirt.
state.
You
Yes,
got a T-shirt that says
absolutely.
"I'm bringing the gospel to the deep state." I'm wearing that, dude.
That's absolutely one way to do it. I mean, it sounds funny, but that's what we want to do.
No,
We
it's
need
not. I know
revival.
exactly what you mean.
We need
Yeah.
revival in the military. These guys saw it. Look, there was a downside to COVID, but Danny can talk about it. I mean, Danny can talk about his faith walk. I can talk about my faith walk because of what happened with COVID and these thousands of people that came together. I mean, at one moment in time, there were 264,000. It's over 13% of our military force that were saying no to this vaccine mandate.
Wow.
That's the rallying point. So again, Danny won't talk about it because that's not who he is. But these guys were the heroes. These Navy SEALs were the heroes early on that were able to push back on this, got a critical mass together so we could slow this down and push back. And like Caleb said, we don't want to ever be caught flat-footed on this again. So
Yeah,
We're going on offense.
The kind of, you mentioned like a heritage legal defense. I was homeschooled in the 80s, and we were part of that because I had social services at the door, my kids in school, right? It wasn't as prevalent as it is now. And I was thinking that during the pandemic, I go, all these people that, especially within, federal government, military, stuff like that, that they have really no recourse. They're not legal experts. They don't, and not only that, but they do have a biblical worldview, and they can't even partner with maybe the legal expert that doesn't have that same worldview and just wants to cash their check and go, yeah, we're probably going to lose, but I'll try to defend. It's like you're like the best of both worlds. Not only do you have the worldview, and you're looking for people that have that same worldview, and while they're making those stands, they're not just frivolously doing it to buck the system. They're like, I have a truly held belief. And then also being part of an organization that has stellar attorneys in it that can go, if it comes to legal issues, we're going to fight for you.
Right.
And we're going to fight. And probably I would assume you guys can find those legal avenues to make those arguments if it is a worldview issue or a religious freedom issue, or right? Is that kind of what you're doing?
Yeah, and so I would point this out too. The preference cascade is real.
Okay.
Right? And so there are still very strong Christian, even Reformed Christian people in the military. The problem is when you have something like COVID that takes place, no one wants to be the first one to put their hand up.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's easy to think that you're all alone when you're fighting the DIE stuff. It's easy to think you're all alone when you're fighting transgenderism, when you're fighting abortion in the military, when you're fighting pronoun use in the military. So part of that training piece, it's also connecting Christians across the military to know, hey, if I'm going to take a stand on this, number one, I've been trained appropriately and I'm ready.
Yeah.
Number two, I've got legal advocacy backing me up. And number three, I know I'm not the only one taking a stand.
Yeah, no, that's good. So I'm going to, one or two more questions here. And this is kind of off subject, but we talked about it earlier. But since I have 3 servicemen here, I kind of want, and 2 lawyers, 2 attorneys, I kind of want to ask the question. We saw the transgender stuff come out yesterday, you said. Why do you believe, in your personal opinion, why are they just inserting so much chaos? Because, I mean, just from like I said, from a practical aspect of being able to try to run an organization, and one day you wake up and you say, you have to gender me as ma'am, and then the next day, sir, and now I need a different uniform, and now I'm sleeping in a different barracks and using a different bathroom. And if you want your military to be an elite fighting force that defends freedom and does all these things, and right, that we want it to do, why are we inserting this chaos that will totally disintegrate an organized unit? Well, what do you think the purpose is there? Do you think it's intentional? Do you think it's just, well, we're just trying to be nice and accommodate people? I mean, I've never really heard military stories where you try to accommodate people. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem very accommodating. You break their will and say, no, this is the way you're going to do it our way. Like, what's your personal opinions on that? Just as people who've served in the military and you're seeing what's going on now. Anyone want to? We're all looking this way. We're looking. Go ahead. He wants to say something.
I mean, at this point, there is no standard that
Okay.
they can
Yeah.
adhere to. So it's just we're in free fall, like Toby talked about last night. The car is off the cliff. So at this point, their rationalization is just to continue going in the direction they're going, just to double down on all the nonsense. So and they're just trying to create an idealist society, like we're in Platonic thinking over and over again.
Yeah.
And that's what this causes. Like there's no practical application to it really. It's just an idealist society that's being perpetrated and propagated, and it's gonna create chaos. And
But there's got to be officers high up that understand that this is eventually going to weaken our armed forces, all this kind of stuff. So I go, so is it purposeful? We don't want to get into, being conspiracy theorists here, but I go, there's got to be way smarter guys than me higher up that are making decisions that go, this can't be good 10 years from now, 5 years from now. This is, why are we doing this? Are we just appeasing a group or what?
Well, think about it this way. It has less to do with appeasing a specific group, and it has more to do with the fact that high-level brass in the military are promoted not based on competence, but based on their adherence to the government policy propaganda. Okay. The problem becomes, what's the most important thing for a 1-star general?
I don't know. What is it?
Is to get that 2nd star.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And then it's to get that 3rd star.
Right.
And so what we have a tendency as Americans to do, because we love our service members, because we love our men and women in uniform, we want to treat brass in the military like they're different than any other high-level government bureaucrat.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if I asked you, hey, why is the FDA making horrible, stupid decisions? Why is, insert alphabet soup agency here implementing this stuff?
Because they're a bunch of government bureaucrats.
That's
and they're
exactly right.
off after their own self-interest.
But suddenly you put a uniform on that guy.
It's like, oh, it's separate.
And you're applying a different standard, right?
Yeah.
And so part of what you have to be able to do is you have to be able to put Christian people in the military working from a worldview commitment that starts before the crisis.
Right.
Right? Those are the people who are going to eventually be able to break the backbone of this, because the chaos that we're seeing now is not sustainable over a long term. It's not going to enforce readiness. It's not going to help us win wars.
Yeah. No, that's so true. That's a very good point, though, too. I've done that myself. You see stars on the shoulder, and you go, oh, well, must be some type of difference. And it's like, well, no, bureaucrats are bureaucrats, right?
Well,
self-interest is self-interest, whether you have a uniform on or not.
And this is one of the reasons we've been such big supporters of what Senator Tuberville is doing right now in Washington, right? You would do more, you would impact readiness worse if you held up E6 promotions than what he's doing right now, holding up brass level promotions, right?
Right.
And the fact that you've got someone taking a stand, holding that oversight, and even now that conflict is breaking out over the world, going, no, you move.
Right.
Secretary Austin, you could end this anytime you wanted to. You move is a huge thing that we haven't seen in a long time.
Wow. All right, let's put bookends on this, guys. So what's the final word here? We'll make sure we link up Stand With Warriors, the organization. We've thrown out the website. For anyone listening out there, what kind of advice would you give them, whether in the military or not? What do you think? I'm looking at you, Davis, as our fearless leader.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what we need is we need to continue to build community, and it starts at your local church. We've bought into the myth of neutrality. We've had theology that leads us to have a defeatist mentality, and that only leads to one outcome, what we're seeing in the world today. So it truly is Christ or chaos. That's how we need to be living our lives. So all of us, it's part of what's baked into us from our military service is we need men building their own, their physical fitness, their mental fitness, their spiritual fitness. We need men joining together in community and serving in their local community, like what you do with the churches you're working in, what you do at the county level. That's what we need. We need that same thing in the military, but we need that warrior mindset. We call it Stand With Warriors. So you'll see what our emblem looks like. We make an homage back to, Spartan era men standing there with their shields, and it's 3 shields. Why? Because when you were fighting in the phalanx, in the Greek phalanx, your shield didn't protect you. It protected the person standing next to you.
Yeah.
But if you went down, it wasn't just you, it was the guy standing next to you. And so that's the mentality we want to create, and that's what we need. So it really is about take responsibility for yourself, Christian men. Be ready to take a stand. If you're not financially fit, if you're not physically fit, you won't be ready to take a stand. You won't be able to give up your pension in the military if you haven't been saving money and figuring this out. You won't be able to walk away from a job if you're not doing the right things, and we're not always in that position, but that's the mindset we need to have. We need to have that willingness to say, you know what, this position that I have, this agent, I'm a federal agent or whatever, I'm in the military, I need to be willing to take that off. I mean, Danny was a Navy SEAL. Those guys, we will never imagine what he went through to do that, the sacrifices he made to do that successfully, to earn that trident. And ultimately, because of his faith, he said, I'm going to put the cross of Christ before that trident, and I'm going to do what's right for myself, for my family, and for all Americans. These Navy SEALs did this because they were afraid what was going to happen to the American public if they didn't take a stand.
Wow.
And it didn't come in one day.
Yeah.
Danny didn't wake up one day and become a Navy SEAL. Caleb didn't wake up one day and go to law school and become an Army JAG. It was a daily walk, and God working in all of our lives. So we can all do that, and we can come together in community and make a difference.
That's good. I'll tell you what, just the fact of you saying being financially secure so you can take those risks, that's a podcast episode in and of itself, because I've been preaching that for a long time. And as a real estate broker, it is so fulfilling to help people kind of set up financially, whether it's in a real estate investment, rentals, right, shopping plaza, stuff like that, to where you're not bound by the lender, right? Proverbs says you can borrow money all you want, but you're going to be slave to that lender in whatever way it is.
That's right.
Right? So whoever holds that note, if you're not doing what they say, or you can't have the financial freedom to kind of be able to make those godly choices that you need to make, I'm so glad that you said that, because we're going to be hitting on that later next month when we have some financial planners on. So good stuff. Anything else, guys, before we wrap up here? We'll let you get to lunch. No.
Thanks,
All right,
brother.
guys. Thanks so much for listening. I think we're gonna go do lunch, and then the next episode or segment should be Michael Foster. He's gonna swing by. We're gonna talk about why it's good to be a man. All right, thanks, guys. Bye. Well, Michael Foster, stop by the podcast booth, the Dead Men Walking podcast booth. Yeah. Good to see you. Good to meet you in person.
Likewise.
Follow online, and been following what you're doing. We were saying earlier, I just listened to the audiobook earlier this year, and it's good to be a man, and that really got some traction.
Yeah, it's been doing well. It's kind of got a second breath of air recently, I noticed. Yeah.
Yeah. When was it first published? What was the date? The first published date?
Oh, was it last year?
Was it? Okay. Because I felt like I was behind on the.
I don't honestly
by listening in February.
know. It's been such a part of my life.
Right. Yes,
I've been done with it for a long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, about a year and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
That's
So I always like to, right off the top, ask authors this because my wife and we go back and forth on this. If I listen to an audiobook, can I tell people I've read the book, or do you have to physically read the book to be able to say you read it?
I think it depends on the book. Right?
Okay.
So I do both.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But with technical books, I like to read them.
Yeah.
I think it's good to be a man. It's a book you probably could listen to on audiobook. It's very exhortational. It's very practical.
Yeah.
Some of the later chapters are a little more, I think would suit reading, like a textbook. But I think it's only like 5 hours or something, 6 hours.
Yeah, I basically listened to the whole thing on the way back from a conference in Tullahoma, Tennessee, back to Michigan. So it was the perfect little time on the Canon app. A little plug for them. Do appreciate them putting it up there and you having that relationship with them. What was the idea behind it? Was it just the right time to write that type of book and talking about man's role, masculinity, dominion, all those things? Or was it something you've been thinking about a long time and it just came at that time? Or what was going on there?
I've been writing about sexuality in many ways for 20 years, but that particular book there was issues not being addressed by a lot of ministries and books at the time. Now it's kind of interesting, like things have shifted significantly in the last couple of years, where the things that we were talking about, we're kind of like we caught that wave by accident early on, right?
Yeah.
Which is the whole manosphere, red pill, all that stuff, Andrew Tate, all these things were kind of niche and fringe, but some of the issues they were speaking to at the time were resonating with a lot of young men. I had been a youth pastor over years ago, and as they brought it up to me, I looked into it more and wanted to know why they were listening to so many non-Christians and pagans, and what did Jordan Peterson have that their local pastor didn't.
Right.
And that kind of led me down that road of researching. I had this idea for a podcast just on like fatherhood or whatever.
Yeah.
But it ended up turning into It's Good to Be a Man. I had a friend at the time who was conversant in the same topics. And I said, well, you want to maybe do something together? And I had started It's Good to Be a Man, like it had been like 3 weeks, and he jumped on, and that was my co-author, non-tenant.
Yep.
And so we did 75 episodes of a podcast. Sometimes it was he and I, sometimes it's him, sometimes it's me. And then we wrote 140 newsletters and then wrote the book. And it seemed like it was what people needed. We wrote the book for kind of youngish men that were waking up to the fact that what the church was selling them on sexuality wasn't true, right? Yeah. Aspects were, but by and large, there was a lot of lies and half-truths and things like that. So we wrote for those guys because we didn't want them to get swallowed up by the world.
Yeah. So when I was listening to it, I'm 42, so I went, man, first I wish I would have had this in my 20s, those first few chapters. But then it was also, I'm in a stage in my life to where we have a younger church, and I'm in that stage where I'm kind of in between. I'm still being mentored and discipled by my elders and older ones, and then you're kind of bringing along those in their teens and 20s when I'm at my age, and it was just a nice refresher, too, of going, oh, yeah, that's what we are created for. That is the masculine role. So kudos to that. And if people don't know who's listening, you're also a pastor.
Yep.
And you probably saw some of that even maybe within your church and, Christian guys or believers going towards kind of secular, motivational speakers and things like this. We're actually doing that in our church. We have a conference, a one-day conference called the Builders Conference. I'm a panelist on that, and the theme is navigating the manosphere because it's kind of like you said. You rode that wave early, but now it's getting into the highways and byways of just about every church. Yep. Why should I be taking advice on Exodus from Jordan Peterson? Should I, pull a few things from what's his name? Tate.
Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
That. Yes, he's crazy in some stuff, but some of the stuff has a monocle truth in it, and it's godly truth. He's might not be espousing that, but can we listen to that and take glean from that? And you're going to be kind of a subject on that, as I'm going to kind of be in defense of your book, and kind of that's one that we should be looking at in a biblical sphere. So. Cool. Thank you for writing that. Yep. But I want to talk to you real quick, too, about Fight, Laugh, Feast. That's where we're at right now. We're doing some live podcasts from there. And you have a speaker. You're speaking tomorrow, correct?
I am, yeah.
And you're going to be one of the sessions. Can you give us just a little sneak peek, or maybe for those that, can't attend, just don't give everything away, but what are you kind of going to be going over in your session?
I'm going to talk about dishes and the politics of the home. One of the questions that came up a whole lot when I got more in this space was who washes the dishes in our home.
Right.
And I was like, well, I have children and a dishwashing machine.
Yeah.
So I don't do dishes. My wife doesn't do dishes. My kids and my dishwasher does.
Right.
But it kept coming up over and over again. And then as I noticed people bringing it up, I also noticed it came up in a lot of pastors' sermons. A man, if he really loved his wife, he'd do dishes. I'm like, what is with this preoccupation?
Right.
So then I just started reading. I've read the feminists, second wave, third wave feminists my entire life. So then I dived into Betty Friedan and all of them, and then they had all this stuff on dishes. Yeah. And it led into this whole topic of how dishes represent the drudgery of a emaciated household, a household that no longer serves its productive purpose, and she feels the curse there, right? The curse is on each area of productivity for the sex. For the man, for him to engage in the creation mandate, he's got to bleed. There's going to be thorns and thistles, right? And there's going to be exhaustion, sweat of brow work. For a woman to engage in the creation mandate, at least in the way it's normally talked about there, is being fruitful and multiplying, and that means having pain and childbearing. Yeah. So each area of productivity has pain with it. So for a lot of people, things like, or for a lot of women, dishes represent a sort of a pain connected.
Yeah. For my wife, it's laundry, but the never-ending
it feels
dishes.
Monotonous. Yeah. And the feminists actually have a point. Their answers, their solutions are wrong. Like, they see the house doesn't matter. You should go be a career woman. No, actually, we need to return the household to its God-designed purpose.
Yeah.
And so it's going to go on there, and then it'll end with the exhortation to not. I think we're in a real danger of moving away from physical engagement with matter. Right.
Unpack that a little bit. What do you mean by that statement?
Instead of having sex with a woman, you watch porn. Instead of having friends, you have followers on Twitter or friends on Facebook, which aren't your friends.
Right.
Like once a year, I tell everyone on Facebook I'm not their friend, and it hurts a lot of people's emotions. But I don't know those people.
Right.
There's like 5,000 people. How could I know those people?
Yeah.
Instead of having churches, we listen to podcasts and we listen to content. We don't actually get involved. We're living in an age where the ability to divorce yourself from the physical realm is easier than ever before. It's like, think of a sensory deprivation sort of thing. So, but when you get stuck in that, you can't see anything, you can't hear anything.
Right.
Right. But what it's like in our society, we're being stuck in one, but all you can do is see and hear. And it's all this content being constantly fed to them.
Yeah.
Right. And this content that makes you feel like you're doing something. Right, because like a lot of people like to announce that they're losing weight, right? Because it feels good to announce that, like you're actually doing something.
Yeah.
But it doesn't actually satisfy, like you're not actually accomplishing anything.
Right.
Like, and so people they like to read because they feel like they're participating.
Yeah.
You actually have to digest that stuff out and go out and do something.
Right.
And so
apply it.
That's a real danger in an age like ours of like removing yourself from actually engaging the world. And Reformed Christianity, which is kind of our niche to some degree, it's especially bad. They're disembodied brains that don't interact with the physical world. And that's why a lot of young men don't respect them. They respect a guy like Tate, who is a kickboxing champion, or they respect guys that have like actual skin in the game in the real world.
Yeah, I've noticed too. They're not actually out doing anything. They're they're listening and just parroting And then, like you're saying, it gives them that feeling of, well, I'm on that team. He's doing something. I'm living vicariously through him actually accomplishing, or those people. Another point you made, which is just great, and I never really thought about it this way, but how often do we hear we're the most connected generation ever? Connected, social media. And we're actually, you just made a point, we're the opposite. We're probably the most disconnected.
That's right.
We've separated ourselves through intimacy, like you said, porn and sex, and then video games, and everything is separated. So we're running the risk of being the most disconnected in an age of technology.
If you leave a phone on a table, people are less apt to open up because it's rude. Because at any time it could be interrupted, so you don't want to go too deep. There's a good book by Sherry Turkle called Reclaiming Conversation. It's a very difficult time to have real community. It's a very difficult time to have real intimacy and to build real things. And the reform world right now, everyone's got a podcast. I know we're on one. It's like everyone has one, right? And then and it's fine to talk about things. It's fine to use online to kind of a way to send up a flare and gather a group.
Sure.
But at some point, you have to build real things.
Absolutely.
At some point, you have to get engaged in the world. So that's what I'm going to talk about.
Very cool. All right, as we put bookends on this, if a young man's out there listening right now, or any man, and I'm probably 89 to 91% male, okay? That's our demo, so we're talking to the right guy. What's something as we move into the future in this this new world, this new age, what's the most important advice you could give to a young guy or even a middle-aged guy like me, just generally at the 30,000-foot view? What's something that you would tell them that maybe they haven't been told, or maybe been told or just not think is important, but it actually is?
Yeah, I think probably if you can't master your emotions and your spirit, you're not going to go far in life.
Yeah.
And there's a reason things like prudence and temperance are emphasized as leadership qualities in Scripture.
Yeah.
And what I notice, a lot of young men do not have control over their anger, over their emotions, and you see that in a lot of older guys. You want to lead other people. Whoever's the coolest head is who's in charge.
Yeah.
Right. And learning to actually master your spirit, master your emotions is huge. And that's why there's something like Stoicism has appeal to men, because as they go through life, they realize, man, if I had kept my cool, I wouldn't have ruined that. Yeah. And you are the one that sets the temperature of a room, especially when you're married. If you don't like, if your kids are acting out, if you're having trouble with your wife following your lead, always start where you have the most control, which is with yourself.
Yeah.
She may just be a rebel, right? They may just be difficult kids. But a lot of times when you take mastery over yourself, there's a lot of benefits. It's easy to submit to someone that's excellent, easier to submit.
Yeah.
And so I'd say pursue excellence, pursue that inner solid emotional life. That'll also make you call out to God more, because you won't think about sin merely as behavior, but as your overall attitude and spirit and the way you look at life. That's where I would focus.
Yeah, no, that's good. I've actually heard meekness is tempered dangerousness. Basically being able
strength under control.
Strength under control,
so when you think about gentleness, even, is if you take a bag of potatoes and you throw it into the back of your van, you were gentle with those potatoes.
Right.
If you take a lamp or something and throw it in, it'll break. You weren't gentle.
Yeah.
So gentleness is all about appropriate application of strength.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyhow. So anyway.
Yeah, for those of you watching, we have some people walking through the camera. That's okay. That's what you get when you come to one of these conferences. Michael, thanks so much for stopping by. We're going to let you get to your coffee break. Throw out to the people. We'll make sure we link it up where they can find you or what you got going on right now, or any books or anything you got.
I'm writing a book called Surviving the Death of a Child.
Okay.
So it's on how to deal with stillbirths and miscarriages and all that. And then
much needed.
Yeah, thank you. And then I'm just on Twitter a lot. This is Foster.
Yep.
I've got We Made People's a podcast my wife and I are doing, and we'll get back around to that. We got the first 4 episodes out, and then we had a tragedy in our family that sidelined us, and we're getting back to that right now. But yeah, just really on Twitter is where you'll find whatever I'm up to.
All right, there you go, guys. Michael Foster, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for listening to another clip, guys. And we'll be back with more. I think we have Ben Merkel on later today, so that'll be the next one up. Thanks, guys. God bless.
God bless. Take care.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Dead Men Walking Podcast for full video podcast episodes and clips, or email us at deadmenwalkingpodcast@gmail.com.
None of your